Hey guys, Pastor Brett with today's daily Bible reading. Now, I've got his permission to call him out here. It doesn't actually happen, it's a hypothetical. But imagine with me, if you would, I'm in a meeting and Pastor Brad comes in and, we've all been waiting for him. He's about 5 minutes late. Where does my mind go? I automatically think, Pastor Brad doesn't respect our time. Pastor Brad, what's the matter? Why can't you get to this meeting on time the way the rest of us do? You must be slacking off, or you must not value what we value. You may not make the same priorities that we all have to make here as a team, right? My mind can really easily in that moment, if I'm steamed off a little bit at somebody else, I can jump to the worst place. Now, tell me if you relate to this, because the irony is when I, on occasion, can be running late as well, but if I'm 5 minutes late to the same meeting, I'm giving myself some grace, right? Well, it was a crazy morning. Traffic was so bad. There are all these circumstantial things around me that make perfect sense of why I'm running late. When I look at somebody else, I want to judge to their heart, judge to their motives, judge to what they value. But when I measure myself with that same measuring stick, I come back and I say, well, hold on. There are some circumstances, right? Give a little grace, have a little compassion. See, that's the trick with judging. Often we want to judge others with a different measure than we would use to judge ourselves, a different standard. And this is what Jesus addresses in today's passage, Matthew chapter 7, verses 1 through 5. Let's look together and hear this challenging word. And let me just give us a warning. I think it's really easy for us to hear this word and automatically maybe think of our spouse. Think of a coworker, think of somebody in our small group here at church. But I want us to first apply it to our own lives. First ask God, how does this happen in my life? Let's look. Matthew chapter 7, verses 1 through 5. Jesus speaking here says, "Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way that you judge others, you will be judged. And with the same measure that you use, it will be measured to you. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, 'Let me take the speck out of your eye,' when all the time there's a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite! First take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye." I think some powerful, challenging words from Jesus here that really speak to the state of my heart. As I was saying earlier, it's so easy to jump to conclusions about other people's behavior. Why, my spouse left out the wet towel. She just doesn't care about cleanliness. Why our roommate didn't, clean up his coffee cup. Why did the kids make a mess in the yard? They just don't respect my time or my hard work or these values. But of course, I leave out a coffee cup sometimes. I, make a mess in the backyard and don't clean up after myself. And in those moments, I want to be extended grace. It goes to show how quick we can be to project motives and project even the state of someone's heart without really taking into consideration the same kind of standards, the same kind of grace that we might show ourselves. And so here Jesus says, don't judge because it'll come back at you. Be careful how you measure other people, because that same measure, it might be applied to you. And I think we'll find what I've just shared about. Well, we don't always measure up to the same measure that we use against others. And so Jesus gives us this classic, this image that will stick with you, right? We can try to get something out of, like a little eyelash, right? Just a little speck out of someone else's eye while we've got a log growing out of ours, right? This is meant to be comical. This is meant to be absurd image in our minds that someone's walking around with a plank, a log coming out of their eye, and they're like, "Here, let me help you with that lash." No, it's ridiculous. But I do it. And my guess is most of us, from time to time, we do that same thing. Jesus says, first, get the log out of your eye. First, take care of your own home and your own heart before you go around telling others how they should do it differently, how they should live differently, how they should take care of their own lives. Now, interestingly, Jesus doesn't say then you'll never help someone else with a speck in their eye. You'll never come along someone else and give them some guidance, some wisdom, some perspective. But we can only do that with the humility that comes from realizing that we are sinners, from realizing that we fall short, from realizing that we have to go first in the way of repentance, and that we have to go first again and again in coming back to Jesus. Now, when we have that kind of humility, and we've established that kind of authenticity, then, yeah, there may be the right kind of context to come along someone and teach them and show them what God has done in our lives. But too often, I think we turn it around. And we want to lead out with the correction, lead out with the truth, lead out with something that maybe it puts someone else down, that is, in fact, just ends up being a judgment, rather than with the taking the humility of doing that hard work in our lives first and leading out with that authenticity, that vulnerability of saying, yeah, I've been there. Let me tell you how God picked me up. Yeah, I've struggled with that. I've made these mistakes. Let me tell you how God saw me through it. What's your next step today? Maybe there's a place where, like me, sometimes you might need to extend an apology. You might need to ask for some patience with someone. Or you may just need to say, hold on, it's not my job to fix them. All my job is to point them to Jesus. And let me get out of the way and let Jesus do what only Jesus can do in the lives of those I love most. All right, community, love you guys. Cannot wait to connect with you this Sunday. So join us online at 9 o'clock or out in the courtyard at 10:30. All right, God bless.